Shalom, welcome to our lesson about Passover, about Pesach. Passover is this Monday night, the 14th of Nisan. You know the name of this month is Nisan. You know how you say a miracle in Hebrew? Nisim. We had so many miracles, the splitting of the sea, but we know that holidays by the Jewish people are with essence. So we don't just commemorate old miracles. If it's a month when miracles happen and we are told in the Torah to celebrate a holiday of those miracles, it means that every year it's a month of miracles. This is a month of miracles. The Rebbe would always, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the big tzaddik, who knew the whole science, and he knew strategy, military strategy, and an architect of the Navy, the Rebbe of the generation. He knew the whole Torah. He knew seculars. He knew all the. He predicted eclipses in Ukraine. He says that you should know when the month of Nisan comes, miracles happen again these days. So if you need a miracle in your life, so this is the month. You're supposed to just make a vessel for the miracle. A vessel means do an extra mitzvah, give extra charity, and turn to Hashem and say, I need this. And I'm sure you're going to see good stuff. And report back to me. So, the 14th day of the month of miracles is this Monday. So who wants to know how to celebrate Passover? Who wants to know how to celebrate Pesach? Even if you're not, I know most of you are not, Shabbat or holiday observant to the full meaning of the word. And I'm understanding and I'm patient and tolerant to this. That's why I'm a Chabad rabbi. I have to let you go step by step. There's still basic stuff that you came here to learn, which you could integrate into whatever your level of observance, your lifestyle is, and still feel that you did some very important stuff. And you'll be surprised. Pesach boils down to like 3-4 things. And if you did them, you sort of celebrated 90% of the holiday, even if you weren't the perfect, picturesque Jew from the portrait, with the beard and you're not the tzaddik, exactly. So, let's begin with this. When the Jews ran out of Egypt, it was this year on the Hebrew calendar, this Tuesday, the coming Tuesday, the 23rd of April, early in the morning, the Jewish people left en masse. There's estimates of 3 million people left out of literally the Iron Curtain. If you think Russia was bad, till the perestroika and everything, and Yeltsin and the coup, if you think the communism was bad, it was much worse, because he was a Moshel Bekipa. Pharaoh was a global emperor, and there was actually in the chants that we say during the Seder night, when we relate the words of the rabbis, the Haggadah, one of the things that we say over there is that if God wouldn't have taken out the Jewish people out of Egypt, then we in 2024 would have still been great-grandchildren slaves of a Pharaoh. That's how powerful Pharaoh was. It would have had a domino effect. Pharaoh would have died, the Jews would have had more kids, there would be a new Pharaoh, and he would get bigger and richer, Jews would build more Pissover around, they built cities, pyramids, whatever. Until today, the world would have one emperor and one big nation of slaves, and that would have been the Jews. So we were freed on the night of Passover. That's why God says you're supposed to celebrate it. It's serious. So it was much worse than the Iron Curtain. Yet, you want to ask something, Vlad? Yet on this Tuesday, the 15th of Nisan, 3 million of them were told, go, run out of our country. The Egyptians were begging them to go. They were giving the Jews gold and silver. They had so many plagues. They were so smitten, yeah? They were so punished, yeah, that they were screaming at the Jews to go. They were giving them gold and silver. Just go, get out of our country. And they went into freedom, like in a span of a little bit of time. Now, they were in such a rush that they left with a lot of dough on their backs, the way they used to carry in the olden days. They used to carry food, and the Egyptian sun baked the matzah on their back. If you look in Hasidic thought, it says it's like everything, it's a little bit deeper than that. If you calculate it, they sort of could have had time to bake the matzah. The real reason they didn't bake is actually because there was such a... how you doing, Alex?
I got hummus.
Sure. So now we're going to say L'chaim. Okay, come near me. So there was such a revelation already taking place of God, already taking place in the world, that it subdued any ego, any haughtiness. It was like people felt there was holiness in the air when the Jews left. And it had such an effect, such a profound effect, that it even affected dough, that it left the dough humble. The dough physically couldn't rise because of the spiritual state of the ear. Understand what's going on over here? It's very hard to understand this. But apparently when Mashiach will come, and like Alex is waiting to walk up the Temple Mount. I don't even know if he's waiting. I think he went already once already. No, he almost did. When Mashiach will come and will really have the right to go in, even though it's ours now, into the temple, you're going to experience what it means God is in the air. And you're going to feel so humble and so calm that we're never going to understand this feeling unless we experience such a paradigm revelation, paradigm shift of the atmosphere.
You have the red cows already prepared.
We'll have the red cows prepared.
No,
Right.
they have them.
Oh, yeah, I heard.
They have them in Jerusalem.
Interesting. So it's hard to explain what the Jews, what the ear felt like when they were walking out of Egypt and God was shining like the sun. It's hard to explain it. But when Mashiach will come, we're going to feel that also. You're going to walk into the Bet HaMikdash, the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, and you're going to feel holiness. Now, there was such a revelation of holiness on that special historic morning of Passover that there was no room for any ego, for any pride or self-glorification. Everybody became so one and felt so small in comparison to what they were feeling. This even affected the dough, that the dough couldn't blow up. Our sages say that no dough in the world was rising at those moments. How does dough rise? Yeah, I have the yeast bacteria, and it goes and it inflates it. There was no inflation. I know it sounds funny with this economy. There was no inflation. We wouldn't mind having it again that holiday with no inflation. So the bottom line is the Jews had matzah made out of dough that did not rise. It baked immediately. If you take dough, water and flour, and you make it flat, and you just let it bake right away, you don't let it rise, it turns into a matzah. What do you think a matzah is? So the Torah says, since every year, like I said in the beginning, the holiday actually gets re-experienced, those revelations of miracles actually come down even in Brooklyn, even in the year 2024 or 5,784 years from creation, according to the Torah, which is, I'm sure, the truth, and one day science will figure it out, just like it slowly is figuring out a lot of things from the Torah. The world isn't, we're young creationalists. The world is not billions and trillions and gazillions of years old. So since it's actually being re-experienced, there's actually a revelation of God in your home this Pesach, in your heart, in your mind of a Jew. Therefore, the Torah says you should eat matzah. You're going out of Egypt. It's the same story. You're just physically not acting out the script. But the whole spiritual experience is taking place. That's why the Torah commands us to eat matzah Monday night. So in your mind, Alex, Vladimir, Yigal, Vlad, Alex, everybody, you're supposed to have a mental note to make sure you and your loved ones eat an ounce of matzah, which is like a half a matzah, thank you, l'chaim, on Monday night. Monday night is the night the Torah commands us to eat matzah. Now, Monday night, it's very important to eat the matzah, l'chaim. We should spend this Pesach in Yerushalayim, indeed, on the Temple Mount, with the third holy temple now. So, my dear friends, make sure that you and your loved ones eat around a half a matzah, an ounce of matzah on Monday night. Now, you should know the rabbis, the prophets, they said you should also eat matzah on Tuesday night. You know why? Because we're supposed to always add a day to the holiday in case we made a mistake with the calendar. So also Tuesday night, eat an ounce of matzah. And make sure your loved ones do. And eat shmura matzah on those 2 nights. You want to eat the machine matzah, no problem. But those 2 nights, do it on handmade matzah. Because handmade matzah has intention. And and the matzah is a spiritual receptacle of godly light. The 5th Chabad Rebbe said when you eat matzah on the Passover night, you're eating Hashem's light and you're digesting it. It's like an opportunity to bite into God. I know it sounds strange and funny, but that's what it is. So make sure to have matzah Monday night tonight. I have matzah for all of you. Okay? You know, I just saw a policeman outside. I posted a video. He had a lot of badges. He looked like he was an important guy. And I took since I was giving out matzah today, I took the courage and I was like, I started the conversation nicely. I was like, you look like a handsome guy, in uniform, good-looking guy. Are you Jewish? And then I look at his name of his badge, and I knew he's Jewish. And he's like, Shmura. I recorded it. So if you look on the social media, he let me record it. So I gave him matzah. And he lives nearby. And he might come here one day. He said, okay. Yeah, it's good to have a cop on your side, right? New York's finest.
Actually, a very difficult time right now.
Right. Anyway, okay, so let's talk a little bit about laws, okay? So number 1, the Torah says that for the duration of Pesach, which is from Tuesday till Tuesday, we do it 8 days. Torah says 7 days, but again, we always add a day, okay? So make that a standard by you. From this Tuesday till the next Tuesday. And that's 8 days, yeah? You should only eat dough that didn't rise. You don't have to eat matzah the whole holiday, but you can't eat bread. The Torah doesn't want you to have any arrogance or food that resembles or symbolizes arrogance, that it grew and it was inflated. Torah is against inflation, you see? So, since Jews always say that the night belongs to the next day, if the holiday begins on Tuesday and ends the next Tuesday, so when does the holiday begin? When does the holiday it ends in the end of the next Tuesday, but when does it begin? It begins on Tuesday or the night before?
Before.
Yeah. So I have a rabbi, a friend in California, and he said it's the Jewish perspective versus the world perspective. World perspective is you swipe your credit card, you have a blast, you have a ball, and you have a grand time, and then you face the dark bills. So the day comes before the night. First is the day, all the spending, all the amusement parks, all the restaurants, all the vacations, and then you deal with the bills. Then you're wasting years paying bills. But by Jews, the night, the dark, comes before the light. We begin a holiday always the night before. Holidays, days, never mind holidays, just days begin when it's dark. Meaning, tonight, according to the Jewish calendar, already is tomorrow's date. Not after midnight. Tonight, from sundown, an hour ago, was already considered as the 9th of Nisan. Is that tomorrow? Today was the 8th, tomorrow's the 9th, but not now it's already the 9th. We don't call it the 8th. The night comes before the day. So since the holiday of Pesach, the 15th of month of miracles of Nisan, when they actually left Egypt in the morning, Alex, was Tuesday morning, when do we start celebrating Pesach? Monday night from sundown. But that's usually But when it comes to Passover, there's a very interesting verse in the Torah. And it says like this, Ach bayom harishon tashbisu se'or mibatechem. The Torah says that specifically Passover, no other holiday like this, from midday on Monday, the day before, you should already disown and rid yourself of any leavened bread, any what we call CHAMETZ. It's like the Torah is like allergic. It has an allergic reaction to leavened bread on a holiday. It sounds like it's so off limits. As a matter of fact, it doesn't just sound like it. I'm going to teach you something very interesting, since I promised you to tell you laws.
When do we sweep with the feather?
Sunday night.
Sunday night.
Yeah.
The day before.
Monday night is already too late. Monday night is the holiday. Monday night is already Seder night, April 22nd, right?
And then you burn the chametz.
Monday before the midday. That's it. I promise you I'll tell you laws. I'm going to tell you something very interesting. One of the ways to know the personality of a commandment, let's say a negative commandment where the Torah tells you don't do this, I'm going to put you guys to task. What do you think is a smart way to know which prohibition, which sin in the Torah is worse than the other? How could you judge? How would you know that this sin is worse than that sin? Is there any way to know?
Based on the punishment?
Ah, exactly what I wanted to hear, Alex. I'm going to tell your wife. Beautiful. Mischara neda mehusa. And the same thing is with positive commandments, based on the reward. You know how important the mitzvah is. Alex said it right. You look at the reward and punishment of a commandment, you get an idea how important it is, because it works measure for measure. God is fair, He's logical, and He's justice. He wouldn't just impose a big punishment on something that's minor. Right? That makes sense? Yes. So, do you know, if you ask an average Jew if you're allowed to eat pork, and if they eat pork, even a lot of secular Jews will tell you pork is off limits. Chazer, svina. They won't eat chazer. It's terrible to eat pork because it turns into your blood, and your blood is where your soul rests. So it affects your personality. You become a chazer. You become a selfish creature. A human being has a very big spectrum. You can be holy like an angel and low like a pig. But if you did eat it, do you know what the punishment is? Anybody knows what the punishment for eating chazer is in the Torah? Can I tell you? Want to guess?
Yeah. Is it eating non-kosher food?
Yeah, generally, but I'm saying specifically chazer because the Torah says no. See, that's smart. It's smart again, even though it's not the answer, because that's what I want to get to. The Torah says that when the rabbis should take the person who ate chazer, shachal chazir, yigal, who was warned that he's going to be punished, and he still didn't listen, and he was completely sane, and he just didn't care. Eventually, they should punish him with what?
Yeah.
No. They would actually slash him. They would take a leather belt, they would fold it over till it's like folded a few times, and they would hit him on his back. He would hold his hand around the beam. Today you're not allowed to touch anybody. Everybody. It's old fashioned. It's not progressive. I'm a big fan of not touching people, but certain people only learn their lesson when they're touched. It's just how it is. I think sometimes it's more effective than jail. Jail, you're ruining the guy's life. Slap him up once, he'll learn his lesson. He feels that it hits home. Slap him up till he gets it and never hurts another person again, and never takes out a gun and a knife on innocent people. Put him in jail to rot for 100 years? It's very questionable. The Torah doesn't speak about jail. Jail is a very weird punishment, which I wonder how much it achieves. It's the best we have based on the government system, but it doesn't mean it's the right thing. The Torah, there's something called slashing. How many times do you slash him? You hit him 39 times. When they hit him, if at the fifth or sixth time he collapses, you're not allowed to continue because he got the message already. The Torah says, "V'nikla achicha le'inecha." The Torah says you should sort of break him. You break him, he becomes born again, he becomes a better person, he gets out of trouble. So, we had a rabbi, his name was Rabbi Rosenfeld of blessed memory, and he said, he once got up to speak in front of a bunch of 20-year-olds, future Chabad rabbi students. He got up to speak, and there were 300 people in the room, and he says like this. He says he has scientific proof that a person's brains is down there. It's not up here. He said, why? He says that when his teachers used to tell him something once, twice, three times, he never understood it. When he got a kick down there, suddenly his brain was activated. So it must be the brain was down there. I remember there was 300 of us, we were laughing to say that. But in a way, it's true. It's a certain knowledge that people get when, and I'm not here to explain the punishments of the Torah tonight, but when a person ate non-kosher, he just gets slashed. The people who got slashed they never died. They pretty much never died. They didn't even get sick. They got bruised. The Torah didn't want to kill them. It's not the death sentence. Eating bread that's leavened, normal bread, on Pesach is a whole different punishment. You know what the punishment is? Kares. You know what kares is? Kares is that a person dies at 50 or 60 years old from he gets torn away from this world. So if you you get literally it means that he dies young, 50 or 60 years old, for eating bread in these 8 days. So it's important, guys. I'm just telling you, at least you have the knowledge. You can make an educated decision. That's why we're very careful with everything we eat, because even though the real sin of eating CHAMETZ is probably an amount that satisfies you, it's not simple, because even a crumb could be a problem. So you just keep away from that type of food. That's all. You go vegetarian. Not even vegetarian. You eat meat, kosher meat, everything. So number one, guys, keep away from bread. You're a Jew. It's 8 days a year. Today it's such a fad not to eat bread. It's carbs. So you go low carb diet. Eat just matzah. Well, you don't have to eat matzah. Only the first 2 nights. And matzah comes in whole wheat also. And I just heard that someone I know eats spelt matzah.
Yeah.
There's all types of matzah. So
Egg matzah.
Egg matzah is also not a problem. Egg matzah is not a problem. Egg matzah is kosher. You know that.
It should be written kosher for Passover.
Yeah, it has to be written kosher for Passover. I mean, I personally don't eat egg matzah because I try to refrain, because of this concern of not having bread. I try to refrain as much as I can from anything packaged. I mean, if you would have seen my Passover order today, it was 50 pounds of carrots, and it was about 2-3 cases of avocado or something.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, it was all raw food that we're gonna make. So, and eggs, things that are not really processed. We keep away from processed foods. Even the oil I bought, which I don't have a choice, I have to buy processed. I bought avocado oil. You know why? It's cold pressed. It's not processed. It's the least processed oil. You like it? It's going to be my first time having avocado. I used to have walnut oil. Yeah, but I heard it's more clean, the avocado.
You can cook on
Good. That's very good. I'm happy to hear.
it's just more expensive
Yes.
than olive
Yeah,
oil.
it wasn't cheap.
Not cheap.
I bought 7 bottles. We're gonna do a lot of cooking in the house.
But it's better for you.
Okay, good. I'm happy to hear. So you keep away from bread or anything made out of flour this whole holiday. Don't eat anything, a cookie, a roll, pasta. It's all chametz. It's all exactly what the Torah says that a person's a terrible punishment for eating it. So why would you eat it? For 8 days, you can't control yourself. Come on, be a mensch. Now, here's where Pesach gets a little bit difficult. Besides the fact that the Torah tells you can't eat chametz, the Torah says something else, which seems like a little bit unfair because it's so hard. It says you can't own chametz. You can't own chametz. So that's what we have to discuss tonight. You can't own chametz. Well, what do you want from my life? I have cabinets full of food, full of pastas, cookies, crackers. Come on.
That's why I brought this.
That's why you brought the Glenlivet. Oh, you're getting rid of it on me, huh?
You have to finish it.
He says we have to finish the Glenlivet.
To keep a clean.
I want to tell you something. Who ever heard of the Arizal?
Sorry?
The Arizal was one of the greatest Kabbalists, if not the greatest Kabbalist who lived in history. Passed away at like 39 years old. He was a complete prophet, even though they didn't call it a prophet because it was later in time. And the whole Jewish nation goes by him, and he was a godly, very, very holy person. The Arizal, people they go to the well where he used to dip for the mikveh to purify himself in rainwater and spring water, well water, spring water. They still go on Safed and Tzvat. They go to dip in it. They go to his mikveh. I once went in. Basically, it's a hole in a mountain, and the water is rushing through like a stream, full speed. And you go in, you feel the water rushing through you. It has two openings, made a hole with two openings. And this is where he used to go. People go just to be where he was. It's freezing the water. It's horrible. But it's a spiritual experience. So what happened? The Arizal, he said someone who's careful not to even have a crumb on Passover, not to eat one, not to own one, remember? Not just not to eat. Muftachu shalayechta kol hashana. He is guaranteed that he won't sin the whole year. If you're careful on Pesach, you're going to have an extra assistance. You have an extra guarantee. You can rest assured you won't fail into any sins the whole year. Okay. Now, how do we go about that? First of all, let me tell you the times. This Monday by midday, and I have the times actually written online. I can send it to you. For New York, you have to stop eating the chametz, and an hour later, you have to stop possessing the chametz, owning the chametz. You can't have it in any of your properties. Now, how do you do that? So number one, empty out all the chametz from your house before Pesach. Like you won't eat it, you won't see it, you won't eat it. So what's the big deal? It's a big deal. What if you have inventory? So who knows the answer? How do you deal with inventory? Sell.
Drink it.
How do you sell chametz? You go to a rabbi, you can go online. It's very easy. Doesn't cost anything. And you sell all the designated areas of your house via this rabbi to a non-Jew. Meaning, if my two left closets over there are going to be taped off with a piece of scotch tape, and I'm going to write chametz on it, you don't even have to write it. And I'm going to leave my crackers and my cookies there that are going to stay fresh after Passover. I'm telling the rabbi basically that any such areas I'm selling to the non-Jew that the rabbi knows. And the rabbi goes to a non-Jew that he knows, and he basically has a deal with him where he's selling to him just for the duration of Passover all the chametz of all the Jews that the rabbi knows. And then after Passover, the rabbi buys it back from the non-Jew, and he gives him money for it to buy. If you buy something, you have to pay. He gives him some money. So the non-Jews get historically they used to get online to be the lucky non-Jew to make this transaction, which is only on paper. So I know multiple rabbis. They have non-Jewish neighbors, friends, and they love them. The neighbors love them for it. There's a real document. Basically, you have to either go online. I did it with my hand. I went to a rabbi that I know because I don't know a non-Jew that does that. but I know a rabbi who has a non-Jewish contact, and I wrote to him my address on my house over here, and I wrote any designated area in this house. So like that, I don't own the chametz. Want to hear a sad story?
He goes to your house and eats the hummus?
No. Similar. There was a Jewish innkeeper in Eastern Europe a few hundred years ago, and he had a lot of Glenlivet that Alex bought. It had a different name then. Vodka, spirit, yeah, Sechseneinziger, and the non-Jewish populace got together, and they came up with a plan. Passover is approaching. You're not allowed to own alcohol because a lot of it is made out of wheat, made out of yeast. It's real chametz. They all ganged up, and they made a resolution that none of them are going to let him sell his chametz to any of them for Passover. So what's he going to have to do? If there's no one to sell your chametz to in Pesach, it's tomorrow, what do you do?
Throw it out.
And like that, he's going to throw out the whole bar, all the vodka, and they're going to celebrate for 7 days. You think the Jews are going to celebrate the holiday for 7 days? We're going to celebrate, said the non-Jewish population of the shtetl. It's a true story. This Jew saw the situation. He could not find a guy even 5 miles away. They all banded together. They were anti-Semitic and greedy, whatever, peasants. Shouldn't stereotype. There's a lot of good non-Jews, but that time, that era, the peasants were very selfish, very low life. He could not find anybody. He realized the plan. So you know what he did? With tears in his eyes and with his lips to heaven for some type of a redemption from his predicament, what did he do? He took out all the contents of his house and he put in his yard and he wrote a sign, free to take. He lost his whole livelihood. If he can't pay back all the suppliers, the distributors, his business is closed, he doesn't have what to eat, he probably lands in a jail. In those days, it was like a death sentence. But a Jew has bitachon. Jews know that if they do the right thing for the right reason, and they pray hard to God, God is going to give them a salvation. It's happened too many times not to believe in it. And that's what he did. And they were all waiting in glee. They were so happy. And he couldn't stay home. And he went away with his family to a relative for Pesach. I can just imagine what type of a spirit he was in the whole Passover. What are you going to do? It is what it is. That's what we say in Brooklyn. And he came home after the holiday and he sees all the vodka and bottles, which has a very long shelf life, intact. And a non-Jew that he knows goes over to him and he says, Moshka. He used to call the Jews Moshka. He says, Moshka. What kind of trick did you pull off on us over here? He says, I don't know what you're talking about. Says, no, well, yeah. What kind of game is this? I don't know what you're talking about. Tell me what you're talking about. So the moment you left, a group of vicious black dogs came out of nowhere. And they stood there on guard with saliva coming out of their mouths, barking and literally running towards anybody getting close. And eventually, no one wanted to start killing the dogs. It looked too scary. It looked heaven sent. It obviously was. Everybody got totally creeped out. And the dogs were here the whole holiday. So, what I'm saying over here is, Hashem protects you. He helps you perform the mitzvah. But you're not allowed to possess chametz. If you need to, if you have like Alex is a fancy guy, so he has like high quality alcohol. You have a Glenlivet and you can't bring it to Rabbi Zalman like Alex did. You're supposed to put it into the closet, seal it, and sell your chametz. Right? The guy, you don't have to give it to Rabbi Zalman.
Nice.
He regrets he bought it. Smart guy. All right. So it's boring, Alex.
No, just not really. No.
Have some Coke. Am I boring or you're tired in Brooklyn? I think everybody's tired, right?
Very interesting.
It's very interesting. Oh, thank you.
Not just like
Good.
You gonna make a fire on Monday?
not every day I'm in a shul. That's why like in this.
Right.
Not every day.
Right. I'm glad to hear you're enjoying. Okay. So, number one, you can't eat chametz. Number two, you can't own chametz. We got that clear. From Monday midday till the end of Tuesday night the next week. 8.5 days. Okay? We have a deal? Okay.
With kinyot?
Huh?
Kinyot?
Kinyot it's customary. The rabbis prohibited certain foods because they resemble chametz. They're afraid once you eat them over time, over generations, people will veer off and eat actual chametz. So it's not an argument, actually. It's just how stringent you want to be. So when it comes to rice or beans or lentils, the Sephardic people, I mean,
Either.
they're not worried about it, and they're entitled not to be worried about it. I don't have a problem with a Sephardic Jew who's eating rice.
Yeah. Beans, rice, rice.
I'm going to tell you something that we do. I'm going to tell you something that we do that is also a custom to, but it's a very logical custom that a lot of people don't do. A lot of Sephardic people don't do it, and maybe they should, which is we don't let our matzah get wet. Matzah, many a time, might have flour on it. If you got it wet, there you created fresh chametz on the holiday. We won't let our matzah touch any salad, any soup, nothing. Goes into your mouth, then you could eat something with it because it's wet anyway, and you're swallowing it in. There's no time to rise. But imagine you dip it into a coleslaw or into hummus or into salad dressing. And all you need is heaven forbid, you went out of your way not to eat chametz, and you're creating it on the spot fresh. It's called shruya, soaking the matzah in liquid. Don't. But interestingly, that's only liquid that makes it chametz. But liquid that can't make it grow, such as butter, or even I think avocado, believe it or not, they're oils. They're not waters. And they're oils that would not make flour rise. So it's actually not a problem. Even though I don't do it, if I see someone eat matzah with butter for sure, it's not a problem. Not a problem. But I don't do it. I'm not comfortable because the butter melts and it seems to me a little bit wettish. I get all weary. And it's already ingrained in me. I'm so afraid.
So far it's true, right?
No, well, it's not even all Ashkenazim are careful. And it's really something to be careful about. It's a little bit awkward not to be careful with it. When it's,
Yes. I just thought.
they are careful?
No,
They're not.
they perfectly fine with eating
Wet.
rice,
Right.
lentils, and
Beans.
beans.
And rice, lentils, and beans are not chametz. But Ashkenaz Jewry as a whole, if you come from Europe, you should go by the custom of European saintly rabbis who prohibited eating rice on Pesach. So you know what it boils down to? It boils down to vegetables, meats, chickens. It's phenomenal food. My kids wait for Pesach. They're eating steaks, meats, homemade. It's delicious. Potatoes, sweet potatoes, salads, matzah. It's so good. It's so delicious. It's clean food. But it just takes a lot of work. You have to do everything in-house. Today, if you go into a Jewish grocery in Flatbush, there's this whole array of kosher for Passover cakes made with potato starch. Okay. If you're going to be careful not to own chametz, and not to eat chametz, you're in a good place. I'm just telling you. That's what I'm telling you. These three mitzvahs, to eat matzah, and to make sure every family member eats matzah, like a half a matzah, an ounce of matzah or more, on both Monday night and Tuesday night. Number one. Mitzvah number one, eat matzah. Mitzvah number two, don't eat bread from Monday in the middle of the day till the end of Tuesday, not the day after, a week after. And number three, not to own, eat matzah, don't eat chametz, don't own chametz. If you did those three, I don't care if a very Orthodox Jew says, hey, you don't, no, they're nice, the Orthodox Jews, I shouldn't badmouth them. But I don't care if you feel that you're not perfect. Maybe you're not perfect as an observant Jew. You fulfilled the most important mitzvahs of the holiday. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Even if you're not religious at all, you eat the matzah. You know what a mitzvah it is? You know how godly it is? You know, in our sages say that when you eat matzah on Monday night, it fosters your belief in God. It literally nourishes your soul and makes you feel more like a yid, like a Jew. And if you eat matzah on Tuesday night, it gives you healing. It heals your body and your mind. These matzahs have spiritual properties. They even have healing properties because there's, as a result of their spirituality. It's not that they're not medicine. They don't have medicine, but because they're so spiritually good, they actually affect you even in your health. Second night health, first night belief. Basically, spiritual health the first night, physical health the second night. Gains and benefits. So if you're going to eat matzah and you're not going to own chametz or eat chametz, I don't care if what anybody says to you. You're a perfect Jew as far as Pesach. I'm just telling you. But remember, it means that you can't even buy stuff that have a little bit flour in it and things that touch chametz. It's far-reaching what I'm saying. It really limits you. You can't just take a box of cereal in a ShopRite and say it's okay and look at the ingredients. These things all have chametz. You know, yeah, not all, but you know what I'm saying? Like Cheerios, everything is made out of chametz. It's not simple. It's not so easy to observe, but remember, it's just a week and a day. Not a big deal. Now, he mentioned the fire. Let me tell you a beautiful mitzvah of the rabbis, of the sages, that every Jew should do, which is that on Monday night, besides the designated closed-up spots where he's keeping chametz that he sold to a goy, to a non-Jew, you should go around your home on Sunday night. I said Monday night, but I mean Sunday night. The night before the holiday, you should go around your home. You should have a feather of a chicken and a bag and a fire. And you should look for crumbs through all the baseboards of your house, under pillows, and you should put whatever crumbs are there, you put them into the bag with a feather. With the fire, it's like you hold them both in your hand and you close the lights of the house, and it's called B'dikat Chametz. It's like a whole event. The kids go around, you make sure the real young ones don't hold the fire, but the responsible older ones could even hold a candle if they're old enough. And it's quiet, you make a blessing. Blessed are you, God, Master of the world, who commanded us to rid ourselves, to destroy our chametz, our leavened dough that has risen. And we look through the whole house. It takes a half an hour, an hour. I heard the Rabbi used to take more than an hour, 2 hours. I don't know. I'm not such a tzaddik, I'm not that much patience, yeah? You clean for the week before, you left over with some crumbs, you search for them Sunday night. Now, Monday, by day, you burn the chametz, whatever is left over, whatever you found during your search on Sunday night. And usually you also put away a little chametz, like in a shopping bag, like a few slices of bread, with whatever crumbs you found during your search, and a few slices of bread that you set aside. You burn it Sunday, you burn it on Monday, and you make sure it's charcoal and burnt. Make a little fire before the time when you're not allowed to own chametz starts. So like that, by the time prohibited to own chametz begins, so at that time you're already clean from owning chametz. You burnt your last chametz. So there's a mitzvah to check the chametz Sunday night, And another mitzvah, these are rabbinical mitzvahs. They're not biblical mitzvahs. So I don't know if it's called a mitzvah because God says to listen to these rabbis. So, but these are very very holy rabbis where God actually wants you to listen to them. Rabbi Zalman, you don't have to listen to. You don't listen to me, big deal. But Rabbi Akiva, you better listen to him. God rested on these people. His light rested on their heads. So on Sunday night, these rabbis said that you should burn your chametz, you should search your chametz, and on Monday you should burn the chametz and have it all burnt by the time you have to start not owning chametz. Now, you understand that you have to also check your car. I'll tell you what happened to me with not check your car, you have to also clean your car. You check your house, you don't check your car. But you have to clean your car from chametz, because chametz, if you have a cookie under a seat, you're transgressing owning real leavened dough, an ounce of leavened dough or more in your property. Your car is your property, even if it's a lease. You're leasing the car; it's yours while you lease it. So it's very serious. You have to clean your car very well. I'll tell you a little story. I went today to a car wash. I'm not going to say where, because of the nature of the story. I come to it's on Coney Island Avenue. I go to this car wash, and I'm like confused about all the levels of cleaning and what's good enough for Pesach. Where are they actually going to vacuum under the seats, and how much they're going to take advantage of me with the money? I see a Jewish fellow. I never met him, and I tell him, "Is there like a Passover package, like they're offering to clean the car well?" He says like this. He says, "Listen, there's something called so and so, a certain package, plus $79, $80, and they clean it perfectly." So I was very happy. I come to the guy with my car after hearing that they're offering cleaning like this, and mistakenly, I didn't realize it's a mistake then. I say, "Can I have the Passover package?" So his eyes light up, the worker, and he says, "The Passover package is $180. I was like, "What?" And he starts arguing with me. I was like, "What's the lower package?" "There's no lower." Passover was his magic word. He wasn't even Jewish. I was like, I need, tell me your lower packages. He's like, "Passover?" I said, he told me to speak to someone else. I tell the other guy, "Forget the word Passover." I realize I have to omit that word. I said, "Please, I'm not here for Passover. Please tell me about your package." "Oh, your package, this package, $80. You should have seen my car after. It was spotless. So maybe it's going to help if you watch out not to be taken advantage of. I mean, I don't blame them. They're doing the right thing. It's actually a great place. I like their service. I like their clean. I can tell you privately after where it is. I don't want to badmouth anybody over here. I don't like, let them make their parnasa. But the car was, in my eyes, he worked in it for an hour and a half under the chair. Like, what else do you want? It just didn't have the magic word Passover, so it costed the. Understand? Fine. So you have to make sure your car is clean also. Now, Passover. Anybody have any questions? Because I already spoke a lot. It's 48 minutes. Now it's question and answer time. You can ask me. Don't be embarrassed to ask questions based on your lifestyle. I won't judge you. How to observe it in certain situations.
Not everything needs to have a kosher Passover, like meat and cheese, probably, milk, eggs.
They all have kosher for Passover. You're supposed to buy them with kosher for Passover because people use all types of chemicals and stuff. When I buy chicken, it says kosher for Passover on the package.
How could chicken be not?
You're right, but basically they're telling you that if the same facility is making deli rolls, they're making sure it's not on the same tables and there's no crumbs. It's a level of caution, and you're not paying more for it. I saw kosher chicken prices now. I saw $2.99 a pound. Very normal prices. You're eating chicken that God asked to slaughter a certain way. You're eating it kosher. You are what you eat. It's very easy to keep kosher now. The Passover doesn't cost more. You know where it costs more? If you buy a kosher for Passover chocolate cake. There's so many fillers to replace they have to come up with so much, like, I don't know, chemicals, kosher for Passover chemicals, that they have to charge you a lot, and that's an opportunity for them to make money on you. But chicken should always be kosher for Passover. Meat always, cheese always, Alex. Milk always. And if you look at all the milks now in the stores, pretty much say kosher for Passover. You cannot buy milk that's not kosher for Passover in the store now.
Seems like a little overkill.
Huh?
Seems like a little over, like before.
Okay, but life is not simple anymore. It's complex. You know that. And it's opportunity for entrepreneurs in this business, to make money, and we know they're making money on us. But we also utilize our opportunities. That's how the world runs, to make money when we have a chance. So I think they make some of them make a killing on Passover.
Costco has a very nice kosher aisle over there.
It probably says kosher for Passover and certain stuff, right?
Yeah, it's like I go to Costco, like very good kosher aisle, big portions with a low price.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you want to call it
Costco has really good pastries. Not kosher Passover, but they have a whole croissants.
Really?
Their whole kitchen is kosher.
Really?
It's really good.
Where? The one over here? Local?
The one in Long Island.
Oh, Long Island.
They have a whole kosher, the all their pastries are kosher. They make it themselves. Like their croissants are amazing.
Any other questions? Any questions? We are Vlad. You're speaking about pastries. I just want to tell you, there's something called Pat Israel. Pas Israel. You ever heard of it? One of the biggest plagues of the Jewish people that we're still suffering and results in a lot of catastrophes, intermarriage. People marrying, out of their faith, and the kids end up drawing the parent into their own situation. The spouse gets them into their own religion. A lot of tsaros, and actually historically, quite a few tyrants who persecuted the Jewish people were from intermarried ancestry. Because in the prophets it says, one of the great Jewish prophets said that your destroyers, the ones who will persecute you, will come out of you. A lot of times just through intermarriages, sadly. But our rabbis said that when it comes to bread, which really satisfies a hungry man, you should only eat bread that's baked by a Jew. So in other words, that a Jew participated in the baking. In other words, even if the bread has kosher ingredients, and even if it's not Pesach, the actual baking should be with the participation of a Jew, because if you're going to eat completely non-Jewish bread, you might end up marrying their daughters and be part of their families and eat dinner with them. So there's something about within kosher croissants and breads themselves, to eat it should be baked by a Jew. So, I remember when I was a kid, there was a big bread company in the Catskills. I don't know if it still has the same status. It's called Bread Alone. You ever heard of it? You heard of it? So it's still, I remember as a kid, I don't know now. I remember as a kid, there was it was kosher ingredients. It was good. I remember there was a rabbi who used to go and throw in a piece of wood into the oven just to make it status of baked by a Jew. Every time they opened the oven, the rabbi who gave his supervision on the ingredients also made sure. I don't know if it's still like that now, but because of that, I used to eat bread alone as a kid. It might have changed. Yesh kasher v'yesh pat Israel. Kasher. Oh, so he says it's not anymore. So maybe if you're particular. Chalav Yisrael is something else. I'll tell you in a minute. But Pat Israel means that besides the fact that it's a kasher, the ingredients, the fire, the baking, the actual baking process was also done with a Jew involved. Like that, you don't get to a situation where you start dining out of your faith. And we stay together. This is our strength. This is why we stay connected to Hashem, and we can bring light to the world and kindness.
Assimilation. Remember
ואני חושב שהוא מוכר את זה בפסח.
Yeah.
אבל גויים קונים.
What do you say?
Remember I told you a story, not story, my view on Passover, which is a little bit orthodox view on Passover. I told you last year.
That what?
That's related to assimilation. Then there's view on Passover is God passing over houses. Jews aren't killing points on force, but that would be done on the first part. That has nothing to do with the second part of the actual Exodus. Bible have two sets of Seder, one set of Seder. My view on that is that the actual Passover was supposed to be in Egypt for 300 years. And the nation was going with such a tremendous speed. Looked at it, decided to take the nation out of Egypt before this 300-year term that was predetermined for Jews, which means he was actually passing over time to take the Jews out, which is, say, the real Passover.
Right.
It's not Passover. Houses for Passover.
Right.
Time.
You want to hear something sad? I don't know if you guys know this. There was a whole tribe in Egypt who miscalculated when God's prophecy of the bondage in Egypt ended by like 30 years or so. And they decided that we have to leave Egypt. And they were all killed out. They left Egypt, but they were killed later. They say it was over 100,000 Jews actually broke through the Iron Curtain of Egypt, but it wasn't the time yet, unfortunately. So God didn't protect them, and there's no miracles. Disaster. Chalav Israel means that milk was milked out of a cow, and a Jew observed that it's coming out of a cow versus another animal, like a horse or a pig. You have milk, and many animals have milk. Chalav Israel means that a Jew actually watched the milking. He didn't actually milk the cow. A non-Jew can milk the cow, but it was seen by a Jew. It's interesting now. It's very tricky now in America, because now in America it's illegal to write on the label cow's milk when it isn't. So it's not called chalav akum anymore. It's called chalav stam. It's like undetermined milk. Some people drink the milk now, even if a Jew didn't watch it, as long as it's labeled by a proper company and the FDA said it's cow's milk. It's understandable, you know. We Hasidim will only drink Chalav Israel or no milk at all, which means basically a Jewish company. That's why the Jews have money a lot of times. We all support ourselves. We have a bunch of rules that anyways we have to support ourselves. We have to eat the bread he participated in. And there was a Chinese takeout here where I used to go, and it was very good Chinese. And there was always a rabbi there. And then I found out one day it belongs to two Chinese. It wasn't Jewish, the store. But there was always a rabbi there. It was only kosher. And the food was proper Chinese food.
They serve kosher.
Anyway, we should all have a kosher and a happy Pesach. And if you want the link to sell your chametz, and like that you can close up shots, text me, I'll send it to you. It's available on you can write sell chametz, CHAMETZ, Chabad.org. You'll find it on Chabad.org.
I sold my helmet.
So did I. All right, be well, all the viewers. Bye.